When the tide is ashore, hold on to me. When
Hey
your
guys,
eyes
welcome back to my channel. So this video is actually going to be on this hair that I am wearing in my head. It is actually a unit that I made myself, so it is a closure and then 3 bundles. This is the first time that I have ever successfully completed a do-it-yourself like wig, and it came out amazing. The only thing is this is synthetic hair, so I don't know how long it will last me, but I am loving the ending results. I will say though, for it to be synthetic, it's very soft. It does feel like natural hair, but I probably will not be putting any heat to it because I do not want it to mess up at all. I want this to last for as long as possible. So really quickly, before I get into showing you how I actually created this wig, I figured I'd just mention what this hair is. This is actually from Zury and it's called First Hair. It's supposed to be 1 package is enough. So they give you a closure and 3 bundles from 16, 18, and 20 inches. And then from that, you're able to create your own wig and style. So this is the little brochure they gave me, and inside it says that the closure is hand-tied big lace. I don't know what that means. And it says it's a silk-based closure. I do like the closure. The only problem is I do not feel like the parting space was enough. So let me show you guys. This is literally the parting space. I tweezed already, and you're gonna see in the video, but I did tweeze, and then I couldn't tweeze anymore because literally this is the parting space, and then right here is a track. So I didn't want to go too close to the track because I didn't want anyone to see that it obviously is a track right next to the part. So the parting space is, I can't even say an inch, maybe like a centimeter. It's very, very sparse. That's literally the only problem I've had with this hair. Other than that, I mean, it does shed, but it is synthetic, so you're gonna expect some shedding, and plus I did cut the wefts, so of course I expected shedding. It wasn't crazy. For me to have cut the wefts, the shedding wasn't bad at all. So the only problem I would say was with the closure parting space. If they were able to give even an extra centimeter, I would give this 5 stars. It would be off the wall crazy. I love the color even. It just looks so natural for it to be synthetic. I've seen a lot of synthetic brown that gives it more of a gold than what a brown is, but this is just like the perfect brown. It just looks completely natural. I would not feel, with some synthetic hair, I always feel nervous wearing it because it can be too shiny or it just doesn't look natural. But honestly, this looks completely natural. Even with the parting space, it isn't too bad, but I will say I did had to tweeze it. So this is with tweezing, and I feel like some of my concealer has actually got onto the hair. That's how thin this parting space is. But I mean, it's not undoable, if that makes any sense. Like, I would wear this out. I like how it looks. I do love the end result. But I just figured I'd mention it because, of course, I always will let you know, good or bad, what it is. But overall, I do like it a lot. I will let you know how long this hair lasts, being that it is synthetic. But I do like the hair. It does frizz up a little bit, and I don't know if it's because it's a curl to it. It's called First Body, so it does have a wave to it already. But I feel like it's that Beyonce frizz. Does that make any sense? Where it looks a little frizzy, but it's supposed to be frizzy, if that makes any sense. So the frizz doesn't bother me. It was just the parting space. But yeah, I figured I'd mention that to you just so you would know about it before you purchased it. So the color that I have is SOMRT 3033. So let me actually read this off really quickly so you guys will know exactly what it is. The closure lays flat. It's a hand-tied big lace closure. It's a silk-based closure and it lays flat. Also, I forgot to mention the synthetic hair is supposed to be green fiber hair. I've never heard of that before, but it says no hazardous fumes and made from green fiber. I don't plan on using any heat to it, so I don't know. I like the way it looks. I will say it is frizzy, but other than that, it looks like that natural frizzy. So I'm loving this. So this video is going to show you basically how I created this unit. I did use the glue method, and I've watched Raven Elise do her wig, so I was inspired by hers. Her way of doing it, if you're a little confused with mine, go check out her video. I will link it below, but her way of doing it helped me to create mine, and it just turned out amazing. So I did her plastic bag method. That worked great, and this is just regular hair glue that I glued to the cap. And yeah, so that's how I did it. I didn't add any clips to it, but I plan on adding 2 clips right here. Right now, I just have 2 bobby pins holding it down. But yeah, that's basically it. So if you guys are interested in seeing how I created this unit right here, then definitely keep on watching. Alright, so the hair comes together all in one pack, and this is it right here, and it will come with a closure, and this is the closure right here. If you can see on one side, these are the tracks, and this is the length that it is. I'm not exactly sure of the correct length, but I believe it's around 16 inches. This is the parting space, so it's really not that much. If you can see, that's the track right there, and then that's where the part is. It also comes with 3 bundles as well, so that's a 16, an 18, and a 20-inch as well. But to get this wig started, I'm actually going to be using a stretch cap, and then I'm also going to be using some glue to glue the tracks to the cap. And then I'm using some thread for the closure. So to start off, I just cut off some of the extra lace from the sides of the closure, and then I placed it down as close as possible to the front of the cap just to see exactly where it would lay. I wanted a side part, so I did kind of put it to the side, and then I took some white eyeshadow from like an eyeshadow stick that I had, and this is where I was able to line it up so that way when I take it off again, I know exactly where to place it when I'm sewing it. So to start off, I took the stretch cap and placed it onto my wig head, and then I also had some pins to help hold it down. And then I made sure that the white eyeshadow lined up exactly with the closure, so that way it will be in the correct place where I would want it to be. So when it comes to sewing down a closure, it can be pretty simple, but at the same time it can get complicated, so you want to make sure you do it the correct way the first time so you don't have to go through the process of taking everything out. So the first thing is you want to make sure that your closure is laying as flat as possible, and then you want to make sure you are doing the sides first, and then you work on sewing down the back. If you work within a complete U of a circle, it is going to get crooked, and then you're going to have to take it out and do it all over again. So please make sure you're doing the left side, then the right side, and then sewing down the back of the closure. Plus, make sure that the cap is as flat as possible so that way you aren't having any problems when it comes to sewing it down. So I did one side and then I sewed down the other side, and also you want to make sure that your closure is lined up directly with the front of the cap. That way when you go to put it on, it isn't uneven or anything like that at all. You want to make this wig as natural as possible. So the closure needs to be as close to the front as possible, but not overlapping at all. Just making it as close to the front and you'll be completely fine. So there are going to be several times that you're going to need to knot the thread, and it's important to do it the correct way. I loop it twice and then I pull through the needle, and that way I don't have to go through the process of cutting the string and then tying it, especially if the string gets too small. I'm not sure exactly who I learned it from on YouTube, but I'm telling you it works amazing. You just loop it twice and then pull it through, and that will knot the string for you. So that's basically the closure, and then what I did was I put a plastic bag over my head and then placed the dome cap on my head on top of the plastic bag, then cut off the plastic bag so that way it wasn't in the way of what I was doing. And then of course you're going to want to place the closure into a bun so that way it's out of the way. You don't have to worry about it getting any glue on it at all. I also placed pins on the sides just to tighten it down because the plastic cap can be a little slippery. So the first thing I did, and I'm sorry about the lighting because of using the brown hair, it kind of made some of my lighting golden. But the first thing I did was I placed the track from one side of my head to the other side, measured it, and then once I had the length that I wanted, I made sure to hold on to it, and then I took it down and cut that away from the rest of the hair that was inside of that bundle. So the one that I'm working with is of course 20 because the further up you go, the shorter your length will be. So that way you will have layers. You don't want to start with the 16 at the bottom and then working way to the 20 because that's just going to look crazy. And then you're just going to place down the glue. And then I realized that going from one side of my closure to the other side with one track is too long with it being on my head. So I actually ended up cutting this in half. And then what I did was, even though it's still reaching from one side of my closure to the other, I'm putting them on twice instead of all at the same time. So I started off from one side of the closure to the back of my head, And don't worry if you get any glue on the cap at all. That's a given. It's going to happen, and it's not going to do anything to the other hair that you lay down. But once you lay it down, you do want to hold it for a few seconds so that way it's not sliding around, and just wait until it does not move for a little, and then you can move to the other track on the other side. So I did one half to the back of my head, and then I moved on to the other half to the back of my head as well, and I'm actually holding on to it as well to make sure that it doesn't move around and it stays in place until the glue is dry. So you're just going to keep repeating the same process, and don't try to make your tracks as long as possible, because honestly that is just going to cause a mess. Go with what you know. If you feel like the track is too long, then cut it down to the length that works for you, and then place it down track by track until you're done. If you do it that way, you'll not only go faster, but you'll also do it where you're not having glue all over the place and making a mess, and you want it to come out nice. So make sure you are doing it to the length that you like, but just keep following the same pattern. My pattern was basically a big U until it got smaller and smaller. So my U started from each side of a closure to the other side, and that way I knew when I got to the back of my closure I was completely done. Also, make sure that you aren't using too much glue, because a little goes a long way. Just make sure it's going on that track line exactly, because if you put too much, it's going to start dripping like it did if you could see in that corner, but it's going to start dripping onto the hair and onto the counter, and you really don't want that. You're going to have a little bit of a mess regardless because it is glue, but if you put too much, it's just going to get too messy. So once you put it on your track, you do want to wait, I'd say about 10 to 20 seconds before you even put it onto the wig, so that way the glue can actually start to thicken up and it won't really glide around as much. So this right here is the same U pattern I was telling you, and this is what it looks like with 2 bundles in, and I'm basically almost halfway done. And this is what it looks like with the last track being placed in. So if you can see, they give you more than enough hair. The amount of hair that they actually give is ridiculous, because it's just so much, and I love it. That's what I really love about it. It just reminds me of Beyonce thickness, and the curl pattern, everything. It's just giving me Beyonce to me. So as ridiculous as in good. This is just amazing. So I took out the bun that I had for the closure, and then I started brushing it out a little, so that way it isn't as tangly or anything like that. And actually it wasn't really tangly, but that way it doesn't look tangly. After I finished it completely, I took the plastic off of the wig. It is going to be a little wet inside, so I would honestly give it about 10 minutes. You don't want to automatically put it back on your head, because that glue getting in your own natural hair is going to be extremely messy. So give it about 10 minutes, then you can put it right back on your own hair. And then I also pinned it down, if you saw, on the sides. But this is exactly how it looks without me doing anything to the closure at all. By using that dome cap, it is extremely secure. I could still put it in a few pins, but I'm telling you, I honestly would feel comfortable walking out of the house with it just like this. And then of course this is the tweezing. Like I said before, it was extremely hard to tweeze because the track was practically right next to the part. I would recommend taking your time in this section because you don't want a problem with it. I also ended up putting a little bit of concealer because the track was so thin. The concealer did end up getting on the hair a little bit, but overall I feel like it ended up looking pretty decent by the time that I was done tweezing and putting in some concealer. So this right here is the finished look. I do love the end result. I think it looks amazing. It really just screams Beyonce hair to me, and I think it's perfect for the holidays. That brown ombre golden color look, I just really love it a lot. The hair is extremely soft and it does feel natural. I would not think of it being synthetic at all. The look, quality, it's amazing, and I do recommend purchasing it and trying it out because at the end of the day you can make your own style as well. So I hope you guys enjoyed that tutorial, and I hope it was informative for you. If you have any questions or any comments or things like that, then definitely write them below, and of course I will comment back. Also, if you aren't subscribed, please make sure to hit that subscribe button, and that way you can be notified when I upload again. So that's it. I hope you guys enjoyed this tutorial, and of course I will see you in my next video. Bye!
Everybody knows she's a perfect 10.